Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. Recently, we attended ATX Television Festival Season 7. The festival's always a blast, not just for the panels, but for the opportunity that it affords for live, in-person interviews. This year, I was lucky enough to have several informal chats with some of my favorite stars and creators, and I'm happy to present them to you. In this interview, I spent a Sunday morning in a restaurant booth with Get Shorty star Chris O'Dowd, Lidia Porto, Sean Bridgers, show creator Davey Holmes, and star Adam Arkin. I hope you enjoy.
Something that I've enjoyed when I first started watching the show was that it's not a straight adaptation of the movie. That it's new characters, and that Chili may exist in this world, but it isn't Chris trying to play Chili.
He's actually trying. Nothing sad. He's just doing such a bad job. He just does the worst John Travolta.
Every day we're like, we miscast this so
You should
bad.
hear him. I am playing someone called Chili, but my accent is so strong. It sounds like Miles.
To see his silence.
I like the idea, though, as you preface that he is in this world and we haven't met him yet. Maybe along the road we do bump into him. Oh, that's right.
A gag
Mr.
where
Palmer.
Mr. Palmer
Yeah,
gets waved.
yeah, maybe not Chili, but
He's
a
an
Mr. Palmer
established,
somewhere.
Yeah.
Has it been interesting writing a fictional movie as the show goes?
It's a challenge, and plus we it's not just writing it, we produce it, and he directs the fictional movie. So, but I will say, just this second season, we get a lot of glimpses of both of the work that Miles has been working on, and it's we've done pretty well with, given that there are limited resources when you're also making a TV show, to how much of the fancy movie you can show. But I think it's
fortunate that all the movies I've directed prior to this have been fiction. It worked out really well.
I had read in an interview, someone had asked whether you'd had to research more the Hollywood side or the crime side, and you had said you'd do some research on the crime side.
Yes.
Which sounds like the weirdest sabbatical year ever. What went into learning that world, or trying to come up with an honest version of that world?
We don't always ground everything, but we try to. I feel like the more we ground it, the more satisfying the show is. And so the writers sort of ask a dramatic question, what happens next, and then often scramble to go off and figure out how real bad guys do things. And sometimes there's some interesting specific details that you haven't already seen in a TV show or a movie. I mean, there were a lot of people asking each other, how do you launder money? For the first year, it was like, and how do you launder money through a movie? And then the more we learned about that, the more we realized this goes on all the time. It happens all the time. So it's sort of moment by moment. Somebody's Googling and reporting back on how this works.
It was fascinating for me to get to see you play a heavy. I first saw you on IT Crowd as Roy. Have there been any particularly delicious moments that you've gotten to do playing a character that's not what you're used to?
You know, more. Thanks so much. More interestingly than beating people up is going into a scene where people fear that you could, and somehow that you have that kind of a weight, is not something that is not something I've ever had to deal with. So going into a scene where people are afraid of you is lovely, actually. I wish I could walk around life like that, where people somehow just like go back on their heels a little when you walk into the room. So it's that really, then the instant instinct to ridicule, which is what the rest of my work has been.
Can you each talk a little bit about casting and what you thought when you first saw the sides or first went in for your auditions for it?
When I first saw the side, well, I just remember thinking that this was the person who the people around her were obviously so intimidated by her that she didn't have to really push it very much. So I thought that, especially in the scene with Miles that I auditioned with, watching him squirm was part of her process, and gave her a chance to read him, and that whatever thought process she was having, she wasn't going to let it show. So that would lend itself to some silences where she was just trying to figure out what he was trying to propose, and that ended up being slowing the scene down, which I think Davey has said that he liked. So
I love that.
Worked out
Yeah.
well.
When I first read the script and I got the breakdown for the character, the description of Lewis was that he was a big bear of a guy who wore Hawaiian shirts and cargo pants and flip-flops. So I visualized the James Gandolfini character in the film. If you remember, he played the stuntman who worked for. That's what I thought. Oh, that's what they're looking for. So I was in a great position as an actor where I had already agreed to terms to do a film, so I had a job coming up. And this came my way, and I read it, and I thought it was great. And so as far as I was concerned, it was like, well, this will be fun, but I won't get it. But it'll be nice to work on for a few hours. And then I was pleasantly surprised when I flew out to L.A. and met Davey and Alan.
So when you were at the callback, I feel like you smelled that this role was maybe yours. Is that not true?
Unless that you were locked into some type of physical type that I was nowhere close to. But in terms of, like, I had made it what I could do with it, and I felt that's what I mean, that it was fun to work on. You know, you get these things all the time where you get an audition for something that you don't fit the breakdown, but you make it your own, and you do what you can do with it, and you hope that sparks something in the creative team. And obviously it did.
You were there very early, and you were wearing headphones.
Oh, and
I
that's
was just
not
getting
confident.
He's very much like an athlete. I was, turning up to the game. He's got his beats on.
No, I was very relaxed, and I was pleased to be there.
Yeah.
And it was fun. The material was so good.
Yeah.
Like, you have to. I've been doing this for a long time, so when you have good material, even if it's only a meeting or an audition where you get to play with it, that's fun.
Yeah.
You know, so I just look at it that way. Like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And the strange thing about getting this job was, so we met, and then I stayed a day, and Chris and I just did kind of a, what do they call it, a chemistry read, right? And we just played around, right?
We were worried you looked too much alike, which is so strange in retrospect.
Well, we're both very.
Well,
we're shockingly handsome. We're shockingly handsome men.
So am I.
You would not know from how they are now styled, but at the moment they looked.
So
both have beards.
when I went home, I thought, well, I've got a real shot at this. And then I didn't hear for a while. My agent called and said, "Don't worry, but there's some concern that you are not." I think it was the people at MGM were confident that I had the comedy, but that I wasn't. They were afraid that I couldn't shoot people or whatever because they thought I was really funny. And I just say that because for the previous
three or four just made up malicious stuff.
Okay, maybe
it was like, I don't know.
Well, I had to cut
on,
together a reel of me shooting people and punching them in the face.
You sent it to them?
But yeah, I had to put together this violence reel because for the
I
previous 3 years
It
I'd
was
been.
all done one night.
Yeah, right. So I got
A
drunk.
lot of people died trying to get this role, unfortunately.
No,
It's a dedicated agent.
But I just I'd had like
Go
3
shoot
years
some
of
people
playing
and-
sociopaths, and I was like, I've got that.
So just not as naturally believable a tough guy as Chris.
Yeah, that's right. No, for years I was one of my first.
They were
jobs.
like, "Oh, you mean that really sweet guy from The Room?"
right. From Room, not The Room. Unfortunately.
Different movie.
Yes.
What an interesting crossover those two movies would be.
Right.
Hi, Mark. Shut up. Right.
No, we were pitching the hybrid the other night. We have the room and room.
Oh, were you?
It'd be so good.
Right.
I did a sketch at Christmas called The Christmas Room. It was a spoof of the room, but with a Christmas thing. How funny that you mentioned James Gandolfini, because I looked at him for Amara, too, but in Sopranos, not
that's
in...
Interesting. And I think of him all the time. I do.
I don't know any other actor
We
that
talk
has
about him a
that.
bit. In terms of that, like, how do you kind of... He's just that's such a great and interesting role, that kind of Sopranos role, in terms of it's kind of genre changing, like just sitting down and talking to someone about your problems. It's a show. But yeah, so thanks, James Gandolfini.
Thanks, James Gandolfini, yeah.
Going into season 2, adding some new characters, do you have anything that you can talk about yet, the directions that everybody's going?
Well, yes. I would say one big element is that Miles is sort of reassessing his goals, that he had sort of very clear goals in season 1, and the situation has changed in season 2, so that takes some sort of standing back and reassessing his life. And then a huge element in season 2 is that at the end of season 1, spoilers if no one hasn't seen the end of season 1, Rick made a deal where he was working with the FBI, and so the FBI is in fact hovering over everybody and watching everything, which is a very big thrill.
And it adds some dread to...
Yes, the sword of Damocles is hanging over everybody.
I've loved the idea on the show that there's a good chance that being a ruthless criminal isn't actually ruthless enough for Hollywood, particularly in the last couple of years of Hollywood news. And I've just been overjoyed to watch the show unfold as a different animal than the movie, but keep that Elmer Leonard tone. Thank you. It's been a fantastic ride.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it.
Lovely to meet you.
Yeah, great to meet you.
Best of luck with the TV dudes.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener-supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter @TV Dudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.